Let's go to Jersey. Let's go to one of the Channel Islands. And you know what's been happening there. Big rows, big French fishing rows more than once this year, and a direct threat from a French minister that they could cut off the electricity supply. Well, joining us is our Home Affairs and Security Editor, Mark White, who is there in Jersey this evening. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Nigel. I mean, you were talking in your talking points there about the issue around the cutting off of power supplies. Well, it is a very real threat, if we're to believe the French, to the people of Jersey, 108,000 islanders who are facing the prospect of having their electricity supplies cut off. Now, we should say that the European minister was slightly rowing back on this suggestion at the weekend, saying that it wouldn't be a complete shutdown of power to the island, but it might be a reduced power at certain points, so partial cuts. Whatever, the islanders here see it as bully boy tactics by the French, who are trying to get more licences for their vessels to fish in the waters around Jersey. Now, it all really hinges around the post-Brexit fishing deal that was done, the rules of which are if you can prove that you fished in the waters around Jersey for 11 days in the past 3 years, then you will be granted a licence. Now, more than 100 vessels from France, it seems, have been able to prove, at least partially prove, that they've been in these waters for some of that time. Another 75 have not, and they are not being granted licences at this stage, and that's what the French are so irate about. But also, listen, the Jersey fishermen are very upset too. They say that more than 100 French fishermen fishing vessels in these waters is more than ever fished in the waters before. They find it difficult really to stay afloat, as it were, in terms of a business at the best of times, and they really are fearful that some of their boats will have to cease operations because it's just not worth their while anymore. I was speaking a little earlier, Nigel, to Paul Bizek, who is the director of the Jersey Fishermen's Association, and he was pulling no punches. Take a listen to what he said.
You know, we won't have an industry in 5 years because the French are just so greedy. They want all our waters, and we've never had more than 70 vessels before, and they're trying to get like another 140, a total of 140 to 200.
You think they're just chancing their arm?
Yeah, they are. They're going to cry like babies all the time. The French will cry to try and benefit themselves.
Yeah, strong words there, but I have to say, he's right. If all these boats do get granted licences, it probably will be the end, not just of the Jersey fishing industry, but of fish stocks in that part of the world. And we're seeing further east in the Channel, Mark, since the Brexit deal, stocks of many, many species decline. I don't suppose while you're there that, are there migrants landing on Jersey as well, or are they just coming to Kent?
They've not got this far down as yet, Nigel, but you never know. They may be a tactic at some point in the future. I think their concerns of the islanders here, at the moment anyway, is the issues around their power supplies and whether France does try to carry out in this election period that France is into at the moment these threats, because of course that plays very well to a French audience.
Yeah, and do they really think that the power could be cut? Is that a real fear on the island?
Well, I was speaking to the External Relations Minister today, Ian Gorst. He's hopeful it won't come to that. He says it's a wholly disproportionate threat from the French, but they're taking no chances. They have been in contact and in meetings with Jersey Electricity to try to come up with contingencies should the power be cut. Now, there is at Le Cote, the old power station, an old oil-fired power station that they use from time to time. They used it quite a bit in years gone by when the interconnectors between Jersey and France were not as reliable as they are now, and that could be fired up to take over the power supply to the island for some time. But again, it just depends on how sustained this power cut is, if indeed the French do follow through on that threat.